It's Diana House from thewiseentrepreneur.com, and we are here today with Twee Brown, the CEO of the Adamas Group, and a very dynamic, multifaceted entrepreneur. Twee, thank you so much for letting us interview you.
Well, thanks for having me.
Can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you do at the Adamas Group?
Adamas Group is our development company, and we started about 3.5 years ago, with the focus or the vision of creating a top-of-class student residence for the Fanshawe student. One of the reasons why we concentrated on that in that sector, the college student, because they're by and large been ignored. Ignored for maybe good reasons, maybe not so good reasons, but historically they've been ignored. One is due to, I think, the idea that the college student is so different than the university student, in the sense that perhaps they come from a different demographic, and perhaps where the colleges normally are situated in a city, in any given city, and also the fact that college programs are shorter, so 1 to 2 years versus 3 to 4 or even 5 years at university. So as an investor in a development such as ours, and that focuses on student housing, as an investor, I obviously want to get the best bang for the buck. So investors will clearly and historically say, well, you know, we're investing in a student, we know what their demographic is, they're going to be there for at least 3 to 4 years, 5 years maybe. There are some advantages to that. So one of the advantages would be they won't move out as much as often as maybe college students. When you move out of a residence, a lot of people don't realize there's a lot of wear and tear to that building. So several hundred people moving in September, several hundred people moving out at the end of April, lots of wear and tear. So as a developer who is focusing on student accommodations, we want to make sure we reduce the amount of wear and tear at the best we can. Hence the reason, historically, I believe, that investors have always invested in the university student demographic. Here, on the other hand, we felt that there was a gap in the marketplace. There was certainly a niche, and we felt that instead of sort of fighting for crumbs in a larger pool, if you will, we could be sort of top dog in a smaller pool. And there's no one else out there right now for the Fanshawe student doing what we're doing. So we will be first of its kind in London, Ontario. We will be one of the first of its kind in terms of building profile for other markets that we'll be going into, and we are definitely.
That's so cool. I had never thought about that.
Yeah.
But beyond your development, which it seems like it's going pretty fast, I think you're involved in a few other businesses, and I seem to have a hard time almost keeping track of all your ventures. So what other businesses are you involved in?
My day job, I'm a restaurateur, so we have 14 restaurants. My parents actually started a company with an aunt and uncle of mine over 22 years ago now. Myself and my husband, Rob, we joined the family business about 14 years ago. When we first joined, it was 3 restaurants, one in London, one in Kitchener, and one in Hamilton. And a year and a half after we joined the business, we started expanding. And so we did rapid expansion till about 2009, where we expanded to 3 retail locations. Then we stopped. Then we expanded one more time in 2010, and then we decided, you know, this is, I think, as far as we go in terms of retail. And then we focused and shifted our focus to development. And we feel that development has greater longevity for us anyway.
Right, and then there's Kidscape.
Oh, right, I forgot about
There's
Kidscape.
So many businesses, I think, that you sometimes forget.
Yeah, I forgot about Kidscape. So Kidscape is a 10,000 square feet indoor children's activity center and playground. Predominantly our activities are birthday parties. We also have a studio that's attached to it. It's called Art Escape, where we do ceramic painting and also glass fusion. So it's quite a bit of fun. That's actually a labor of love for me.
Blows my mind. So how many employees do you have total in all your companies?
I would say around 400, a little over 400 employees throughout our different markets and regions.
Absolutely wild. So my first question, and I'm sure many of our viewers are currently wondering, is how do you do that? And you also have 2 kids?
I have 2 kids.
2 kids
yes.
and a husband
Yes.
and 400 employees.
Yeah.
So how do you do it? Like, how do you balance kind of all those different facets and responsibilities? And
so I think one of the important keys for us, for our family, to make it possible. I know every family is different, but in particular with our family, Rob is in the business with me, so we are partners. I firmly believe that if Rob was obligated to another business or another company, and his day is very structured, we wouldn't have the flexibility to do what we need to do, such as picking up the kids, dropping the kids off, dental appointments, orthodontic appointments, and for us to have our meetings, and for me to actually get involved with the community as well. I always often joke that my favorite part of my day are parts of the day rather are times when I go and do work without getting paid. I love volunteering. If I was independently wealthy, that's what I would do every single day.
Wow. And I mean, again, you're the London chapter founder of 100 Women.
Yes. Yeah, quite proud of that. Last night we had our 17th meeting, so 17 hours of meeting. We so far, I haven't tallied up all the donations from last night yet, but I am guessing about $250,000 net in 17 hours. Net dollars raised for charities.
Unbelievable. And maybe if you could kind of explain how 100 Women works for people who might not know about it.
Yeah, so 100 Women, the 100 Who Care, 100 Women model certainly is not my idea or my co-founder, so I can certainly boast and brag about it. Actually, it was founded by a lady called Karen Dunnigan. I believe it was 2006 out of Jackson, Michigan, I apologize. And how it came about was that I think she was the head of auxiliary for a church or some sort of committee for her community, and they decided that they needed to find or raise money for 300 cribs. And she came with the idea and said, you know what, if everyone in this room, or if we can get 100 women to donate $100, we could buy these cribs, $10,000 or what have you. So anyways, the idea formed from the simple need to do something and trying to leverage more people or multiple people other than having 1 or 2 donors providing a high level donation. So that worked out really well. They also decided that I was going to keep it under 1 hour so as not to waste or spend time that is not needed. They get in and get out. So that particular model has proliferated. There's now over 100 chapters in North America. We were the second one in Canada, and since our inception, I've spoken to or helped create more than 30 chapters in Canada. So which is pretty amazing.
That's unbelievable.
And actually several US chapters or want to be chapters contact us as well to ask for our advice and support, because we are by far one of the largest chapters in North America with over 300.
What an amazing cause. So one of the things that we were excitedly talking about before the camera started rolling is that, you're one of my first interviews, and I was so excited that I had found, a very successful woman to interview on this series. And, we just started chatting about, the lack of, women on a really high level taking entrepreneurship, all the way. So what are your thoughts on that? Why do you think there aren't kind of, a huge amount of women who are very successful out there?
I think there's several key factors what mitigates more women from hitting a particular level in their career. I think one is familial obligations. Either it's their families, children, spouses, and work at home. We all know that, you and I joked before the camera that we also wipe counters, we do laundry, but then we also have to do our jobs. I think there's a lot of obligations in regards to that. I think there's also social perceptions and obligations that we must meet, or that we're expecting ourselves to meet those obligations. I also think that it requires certain determination from the individual. I really believe that whether it's female or male, it doesn't really matter. It requires a lot of determination and dedication and commitment to that work. So if we look at it from sort of an analogy in the sports world, you spend a lot of time training if you want to be a top athlete. It's the same thing in the work world. If you want to have to succeed to a level that you're happy with, or to a level that is considered by society a very high level, you have to train. And part of that training requires a lot of time, energy, and effort. And do you have to give up other things? Yeah, you probably do. Can you do it all? Maybe. lucky if you do, but a lot of us have to really, really be dedicated and committed into that training. I think that's one of the reasons why it's tougher for men, or rather tougher for women than men, to exceed to a level where most people would say, well, that's a really high level of accomplishment in the entrepreneurial world or the work world, because I think men historically have had less obligations at home, family obligations. That's my theory. Not sure if it's right, but I'll stand by it.
So what started you on your entrepreneurial path?
I think it was just by accident. I don't think it was, there's no plan. In high school, I don't know if anyone else did the same thing, but you go to the guidance counselor, you fill in your aptitude test and see what you wanted to do. It came back, said that I wanted to do some sort of business. That was as far as a target or a guiding tool. I just got out of university, needed a job, and started working. But you know, that funny thing is though, that first summer after finishing university, my boyfriend and I, the then boyfriend and I at the time, we started our little barbecue sauce company.
Is this Rob?
No,
okay.
Yeah, totally different person. And I actually pounded the pavement for the entire summer.
No way.
All through Vancouver. And we got into a lot of stores.
What was it called?
I don't remember the name.
Oh, really?
But it was just the overall experience. It wasn't terrible. I thought, you know, I could do this. It's not a big deal.
Do you love hot sauce or barbecue sauce?
No, it was just something that
there was
an
an opportunity.
Yeah, it's just something to do. Why not, right?
So funny.
So I don't know if it was I don't know if it's a genetics thing for people who are entrepreneurial, and I don't know if it was by accident or if you're forced into it. I think there's a multitude of reasons why people become entrepreneurs. But whatever it was, for me, there was definitely no plan.
No plan.
No plan.
How did the idea of the barbecue sauce evolve? Like, were you really good at making barbecue sauce, or like?
But that's funny. We went to Western, so there's a rib fest in London, obviously, you know. And in the summertime, he would be a vendor at the rib sauce, and he would make enough money during that week. Sorry, not rib sauce, rib festival. He made enough money during that week to pay for all of his year the next year.
What?
So
That's
anyways,
awesome.
he said, well, I have this really awesome barbecue sauce, and you know, the ribs are ribs, it's just meat, but it's the sauce goes around on it. So maybe we should just do that. I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And he already had a job, and I was free, so decided to get into sales, and that was it.
Cool.
It came from the fact that he made the money from the rib festival in London, Ontario.
That's so funny. So as a child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I think I wanted to be a dentist. That was the very first thing I remember, first memories. Because my great aunt and uncle were dentists, and I thought, it's kind of cool. I think I'll be a dentist. Kind of neat. The dental offices were kind of
clean.
So
do you relate that to what you do now?
Absolutely not.
No, so it just you went down a completely different path. And you know, we mentioned Rob, you work with your husband. So I've heard just so many horror stories about, you know, husbands and wives working together. I obviously do with Jeff as well, so I kind of totally understand the space. But how do you guys do it successfully? Do you have any boundaries that you kind of put up to make it work?
No, absolutely no boundaries whatsoever.
Does it work?
It works, and I think for me, I'll go back to my other answer, and that is due to the fact that we're very flexible. I think one of the goals, or one of the first things I should say, that you need in order to work with your spouse or family is that you need to be aligned with your vision.
Right.
If you have different visions, that's a non-starter right there. You just got to stop. Don't bother, don't try, because it's not going to be successful. It's probably going to ruin your marriage or your relationship with your family. I think the second thing is, in order to be successful working with your spouse, I think the level of communication has to be very strong, very open, and both individuals need to be good communicators. Because things are going to come up.
So is that formal for you guys? Do you have like a daily meeting or a weekly meeting, or is it as needed? You have as many meetings as you need to have?
As needed, for sure. I think it's, for us anyway, it works where if there's urgent things that come up or ideas that come up, we also don't, I'm a strong believer of this. We don't stop ideas, we don't stop communication ideas because it is not during the meeting time. We weren't scheduled for it, because creativity comes when it comes. And I'm a strong proponent of that. If you have a great idea in the middle of this interview, stop, let's talk about it. Because it doesn't make sense to say, no, we were scheduled to talk at 1. Can you hold that thought for 3 hours? Because by then, if we're creative people or people are very busy, you've already moved on to other things.
That's great feedback. I actually sometimes stop Jeff when he has an idea because I'm like, no, not right now. So maybe I should really take your feedback and really like let his ideas evolve and kind of see. Maybe I've lost a few multi-million-dollar ideas in there.
Maybe, but obviously, you don't want him interrupting your phone calls either with a multi-million-dollar deal.
Exactly. So
there's a balance.
A little bit of a. And then with your kids, so how do you raise entrepreneurial kids, and how do you kind of bring your entrepreneurial spirit into your parenting?
So our goal is not to raise entrepreneurial kids.
Okay.
Our goal is to raise good citizens. So individuals that will grow up to be responsible, and they'll be a contributing member to the community that they're in. Amazing. Whether it's here in London or elsewhere, it doesn't really matter to us as long as they're responsible citizens. Whether or not they'll be entrepreneurial, I think it's the modeling effect. I think it has a lot to do with how we live our lives and how much work that we put in and the dedication and time and commitment. I think that's what they'll see.
Awesome. Okay, let's talk challenges. What are the biggest issues and challenges that you're facing on this level that you're currently playing at?
Definitely time allotment for all the things that I need to do in a day. And the other challenge I would say is organization, trying to keep everything organized, because I have multiple businesses. Right. That's the biggest challenge, trying to figure out, besides time, but trying to figure out what needs to get done, and prioritizing what is more urgent than the other. But then all of these different businesses are pulling at the same time. So I would say those are the two biggest challenges. So how do you kind of circumvent those? Time one especially, I think, is a challenging one. What do you do to protect your time? Well, I've had 2 New Year's resolutions this year. I don't normally make them, but one is about saying no. Nice. I've decided that I'm only going to do things that is high on my priority list. Well, thank you for coming today. Well, of course I would do that. But the other is, so saying no is such a powerful word that so many people, and I think women more than men struggle with this. Yeah. I was speaking with one of our managers, and she was having time issues, and it's because she can't say no. I agree with you saying women struggle with that more than men, because I think it comes down to the obligation and responsibility. I don't know what it is with our genetic makeup as females, but there's something there that requires us to say yes, even if we shouldn't or not, or we can't. So that's protecting of my time. The other is the fact that I just get less sleep. So that's unfortunately true at this point in time. How about mistakes? I mean, you've obviously had a very successful career thus far, and I'm sure it has, a lot more to come. But what would you say is the biggest mistake you've ever made, on your entrepreneurial journey? Choosing to go into business with the wrong partner. That was the single biggest mistake that I've made. And we learned, thank goodness, when I say we, my husband is obviously part of all of this. Poor guy, I drag him into everything. But that was the single biggest lesson I learned, is to make sure if my gut is saying no and other things, the flags are coming up, I better say no, regardless of how much obligation or responsibility I feel, and regardless of friendship. Because if I was thinking about the friendship, if there was one to begin with, and if that was the crux of the reason why I'm going ahead, I really have to now rethink that, in the sense that if I really want to protect that friendship, I better be very honest with that individual, and allow that individual to be honest with me, because if friendship is the priority. Right. And so what are those red flags that you've seen come up that maybe you've ignored in the past that you won't ignore next time? Yeah, good question. Vision, going back to that, I think everyone has to be aligned and have the same vision. Not even similar vision, but the same vision. Yeah. Because if you have the same vision, we all have different personalities. We all have different work, habits. And so we will do things differently anyway, hoping to get to the same goal at the end. But can you imagine if it is a slightly different vision? That is going to create multiple levels of complication and distraction and problems. So I think vision is the most important thing. Outside of that, I think personality, you really have to be able to get along. And I think the third thing is your work habits. And someone wants to work in between 1 and 5 and you're trying to sleep at that time and they're calling you because they have a great idea of trouble creativity,
Right.
That's not going to work either.
Right.
So you sort of have to gel in terms of personality, work habits, as well as, of course, that bottom line, same vision.
So you still would have partners, it's just they have to fit the criteria, or would you kind of avoid having partners in the future?
I absolutely would have partners. I think collaboration gets you there faster,
yeah, and
better,
I've heard that,
bigger, brighter.
That some of the most successful companies, it's never one founder. It's always a group of co-founders.
Yeah.
And I know like Techstars, they're an incubator. They won't even accept companies that have a founder. They say, you know what, find a co-founder, and then we'll talk, because there's such a huge benefit in that.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's a really good principle to live by.
Ah, interesting. This has kind of been a buzzword lately, the morning routine of the entrepreneur. Do you have one?
I do.
Yeah?
Actually, I do.
Spill it.
I get up sometime around between 5 and 5:30 in the morning.
Every day?
Every day.
Okay.
I have my phone on my bedside table, even though I know we're not supposed to. I will check for urgent messages or what have you.
SOS?
SOS, like 911, that I didn't see before I went to bed. And then I get up, I do my workout, I have a bit of breakfast and then do my workout, and then I get ready for the day. That is my routine.
So morning sweat.
Yeah, have to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And do you have any other kind of habits or routines that you do in the week that kind of keep you focused, aligned on your mission, and just anything out of the ordinary? Or
Nope, nothing out of the ordinary, because my life is fairly turbulent because of the multiple businesses that I'm involved with. So if I was too rigid, and I don't think rigidity is good for entrepreneurism anyway, and I think the entrepreneur is not a rigid individual.
Yeah. They
They do have structure, and sometimes they're a little bit OCD perhaps. They definitely have to do certain things certain ways, but I think rigidity is the would be the deterrent and would mitigate entrepreneurism and creativity.
Right. Huh. What are your thoughts on personal development, and do you do any personal development?
I wish I could say yes, I do personal development, such as having a coach or what have you.
You don't have a coach, right?
I don't have a coach.
Do you have a mentor?
I don't have a mentor,
No.
although I do strongly believe
And you mentor many people, I'm sure.
No, not necessarily, but I feel like I'm mentoring my staff all the time because they're much younger. They're about 10, 15, 20 years younger, depending on how old they are. So I feel like I'm mentoring them every day, but I don't have, personally right now, I don't have a coach and I don't have a mentor. Would I consider one in the future? Absolutely. I think it is very important, but I think it's also individual as well. I think as an individual, you'll know when you are at a point where you need it, and if you don't know, other people in your lives will tell you. And you can feel it. There is not a balance, or you're not gelling. Something is wrong. And I think that we need to be attuned to that. I'm a strong proponent of having a therapist, whether it's a coach or a therapist or whatever that name is, an individual you can bounce ideas off of, and also someone can actually be very honest with you without much skin in the game. They need to be incredibly
neutral,
objective.
third party.
Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. So entrepreneurship has become pretty trendy. What would you ask someone before they decided to venture down that risky path?
So my first question I would ask of them is, are they prepared to work 24 hours a day if it's required? Obviously that's not realistic, and you
so
don't want to
it feels like it some days.
It does, and I think the entrepreneur mind, you just don't turn it off. It's not a light switch that you go, okay, well, you know what, it's 5 o'clock, I'm just going to punch it out and I'm done for the day. Because part of entrepreneurism and part of the entrepreneur world is that creativity doesn't turn off. It is a creative person who's willing to risk it all and is willing to work hard. So the second question I would have, and I'll backtrack here, is are they willing to risk it all? And if they're not willing to risk it all, what level of risk are they prepared to take? Is it a house? Is it a car? Is it their time? What is it? Is it a relationship even? Are they willing to risk that? I think the individuals, need to understand themselves pretty well before they should embark on an entrepreneurial world.
Because it's hard, right? There's going to be a lot of challenges along the way, and
it is very difficult. And sometimes other things you have to give up. You have to give up other things in order to meet that success. So going back to my analogy of being the elite athlete, for example, if you really, really want to be at the highest level or a very, very high level, you got to commit. And part of the commitment is giving up certain things, risking certain things, and being willing to go and push it through. And I think that is the crux of an entrepreneur, right? What they really are, and what is their mettle? Can you test it? Are you willing to test it? And are you willing to lose? And a lot of people who are not willing to lose, it comes from an ego, from a place of, I don't want anyone to see my failures. I don't want to experience my failures. And as an entrepreneur, you could fail. You can fail at different multiple
You
businesses.
likely will fail, and you gotta, pivot and change.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe you share the story of kind of one of the changes that you kind of just went through with one of your restaurants, and how, one change kind of turned into a huge success.
Yeah, so with one of our restaurant locations, we had a different brand. We gave it a try for about 4 years. It wasn't catching on. Traction wasn't very good. We made a decision that we would go back to a brand that is well known in the city and has longevity in terms of reputation. People know what they're getting when they go in there. So we made the change. 1 week was one name. The next week we put in new signs and what have you. We didn't change anything but the name, and we experienced 3.5 times the volume.
That's crazy. And it just shows that, sometimes success is literally just one decision away, and, the entrepreneur has to just push and push and push to get to that point.
Yeah, and our success is willing to say, hey, I failed, or it failed, or it didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to. You check your ego at the door, and you say, I'm going to make a change. It's the willingness to actually pivot and steer in a different direction and give it a shot.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to end with the question that I ask everyone, and it's a two-part question. Firstly, what does wisdom mean to you? And if you could share one piece of wisdom with our entrepreneurs that are watching, or people who are hoping to get into entrepreneurship, what would that piece of wisdom be?
Wisdom, what does it mean to me? I think that it is one's ability to accept, receive, and listen to advice that's being given to them, where when it's coming from a very good place, so the intention is good. One wisdom that I would impart on anybody wanting to be an entrepreneur would be to, I think it's the overall theme of the day for me, is to work really hard, to be committed, and also to have the ability to withstand risk. That they are not worried about what happens. They still have to make good decisions based on information and data that they've researched, but they have to be willing to actually stomach that risk, because there's no guarantees in an entrepreneur's world.
That's so true. Awesome. Well, it's been so nice having you on. Thank you so much for coming, and I just so look forward to seeing what you create next.
Thank you, Diana. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.